In my opinion, there's one game that stands above the entire gaming industry. A game that is able to utilize storytelling and its unique principles and the aspects of being a video game to its fullest advantage to convey and deliver a story unlike any other that I've ever experienced within a video game. And honestly, ever. And when a game is able to properly utilize the unique advantages and toolsets at its disposal by being a video game, rather than view them as a shackle to weigh you down and take away from the story, that is when I believe a video game is able to really properly utilize the components surrounding it to tell the most effective and engaging narratives that the industry can offer. And in my opinion, Nier Automata is the epitome of this idea. A game that was able to utilize nearly every facet of being a video game and long-standing beliefs and structures of being a video game to further the story being told and to tell it and convey it in unique and interesting ways. So when a game comes along inspired by Nier Automata, I am naturally going to take a bit of time to pause, keep one eye open, and see where it goes from here. Because I think Nier Automata is way more than just a cool post-apocalyptic sci-fi landscape populated with androids with big booties. I think it's more than that. Don't get me wrong, that stuff is cool as well, but the beauty of Nier Automata to me comes in the way that it's conveyed and the way it's able to utilize the tools it has at its disposal to construct one of the most beautiful and immaculately told stories I've ever had the pleasure of playing. Stellarblade is coming around and is taking clear inspiration from it, and even the developers in various interviews are even talking about the inspiration they got from Nier Automata. And to me, that is a cool thing. I don't know, and I can't tell you how Stellarblade will be when it's released. We don't know. We've only had a few scattered trailers here and there. But I will say, taking inspiration from Nier Automata, and according to the IGN article that I'll leave a link to in the description down below, developer Kim Hyung-tae said, "Nier Automata left a huge impression on me," said Kim. "It made me realize that a game like this could be made and allowed me to rediscover the kind of game that I want to make." That to me tells me, also judging from the last trailer we had from the State of Play, that at least the beauty of Nier Automata was conveyed, and they're trying to at least take inspiration from that. And that is one of those beautiful aspects of art and overall just gaming, in my opinion, is being able to look at what has already happened and come into the industry, and to take inspiration and to give it your own unique twist. Sure, there's some obvious clear parallels here, like the main character of Stellarblade being from an aerial patrol unit, or whatever they want to call it, being the last surviving member of that unit on a post-apocalyptic landscape of Earth, where there's an alien race that is conquering the planet, and humanity had to go off-world. But there's a last bastion of hope for the resistance down on the Earth's surface, right? Like, this is kind of one for one here. But it's fine, depending upon the execution, depending upon what the game wants to do and what kind of story that it wants to tell. And judging from the trailer that we had at the State of Play, it seems like Stellarblade wants to focus more in on the humanity side of the main character, Eve, trying to find purpose in a world where the only purpose seems to be survival, and the only purpose Eve was ever given, or has been given up to this point, at least in the game, is to slaughter an entire species, all in the name of protecting humanity and Earth. Is that truly a purpose to be proud of and to be happy with? That you exist solely to snuff out the life of others? It's an interesting question, and one that I hope the game truly explores, and is at least shaping up and marketing itself to explore. But I want to take a minute, take a step back, and say, well, how could games be inspired by Nier Automata? What is it about that game that seemingly does not die? That remains in the common zeitgeist of a lot of gamers, myself included? Why do people like myself put it as the #1 game of all time? Because to me, the things that felt like Nier Automata from the Stellarblade trailer wasn't just the world and the visuals of the game. It was the themes and messaging of context and themes that closely mirrored, or at least juxtaposed, the idea of the human condition, and exploring what it means to be human. To me, Nier Automata is the ultimate breakdown of the human condition, and while many call it a depressing game, I, in my opinion, view it as the most optimistic game I've ever played. It's just in order to get to that optimism and get to that other side, the light at the end of the tunnel, you have to go through one damn dark tunnel. But it makes that light at the other side feel earned, deserving. And despite all that you go through throughout Nier Automata, the fact you can walk away, well, with one, an existential crisis, but also an inherent sense of optimism for the human condition, I think that speaks volumes to how much it feels earned and warranted in Nier Automata because of how brilliant the writing is and the pacing on the whole. And the reason that it feels brilliant and well-paced was because they don't try and view Nier Automata as simply a video game where you have to break up the actual story moments with bits of gameplay to keep the player intrigued. You don't have to do that. You can interweave these things. Having cutscenes is fine, even having longer cutscenes is fine, but utilize the tools at your disposal not as an excuse that you can't tell a story, but as the reason that you can. And if stellarblade is able to make use of this concept, to make use of the idea that these are features and aspects of video games that can work so well to tell a story. Now you may be asking, well, Jmulls, what does Nier Automata do? Maybe you even played Nier Automata and you just didn't pick up on what I'm talking about. And that's fine, because a lot of the techniques that Automata uses and utilizes to such a stellar, get it, degree are kind of subtle. Well, what does Nier Automata do in a lot of ways? Well, it makes use of multiple playthroughs. Now, bear in mind, stellarblade doesn't necessarily have to do these things one for one, and they can utilize other aspects of being a video game. These are merely some examples, and I'm going to try and be as spoiler-free here for Automata as I can, but there will be some spoilers here. I just won't reveal specific story beats, though I'll have to give like hand-wavy notions as to them. Nier Automata makes use of multiple playthroughs to mess with the player's expectations, but also to utilize the aspects of being a video game to its advantage. What they want to do in Route A and Route B is to show you the same plot-for-plot points, but told through different POVs. First up with 2B, second up with your companion as 2B 9S. When Route A, you play as 2B and experience those events, and experience them through the eyes of 2B. Then, in Route B, when you have the context of the world, and you feel like you have something under your feet here, they go, okay, well now re-experience the story through the lens of 9S, who has different tools at his disposal, who's more curious, who can hack, and delve into the secrets of things. So you gain additional context for each of the boss fights, you gain additional knowledge throughout the game, which reveals different aspects to the game's story that 2B was not privy to at that point in time. And it utilizes the aspects of what you learned in Route A to make Route B work so well. And I have defended Route B before, and some people claim that it's repetitive, because for like half the route you're just playing through the exact same events. And I say, well, that's also the point, because the parts you are replaying can go by really quickly, but you're still given additional cutscenes here and there for additional context, world development, and also to showcase these different perspectives and these different viewpoints on the world. But also, there are significant chunks of the experience where 2B and 9S are separated, so you get different takes on these events as they are separated. It fleshes out characters, fleshes out the world, and makes it more engaging while utilizing this idea of quote-unquote New Game Plus to a great advantage. Quests that may have been a little bit too powerful before in Route A if you didn't want to super grind for it, may now be more manageable because 9S is kind of busted with hacking to begin with. But also, you just have more levels at your disposal. And then the game gives you another ending. Roll credits again. And the mind-boggling thing here is that at this point you would be like, yeah, Nier Automata was a pretty cool game. I'm excited for a potential follow-up maybe. Down the line, maybe some DLC. And then they play a freaking trailer in the credits. And you're like, oh, wow, do they already have a trailer for the next game or something in the game? That's kind of cool. And then it just cuts right to that plot, right to that part of the game. There's an entire second half to this game, and it's just like, here, you want a sequel? You want a follow-up? Here it is. They don't make you wait. It's as if they packaged two games into one. And sure, you could have guessed that from the advertisements and from the trailers of Nier Automata, but if you didn't watch them like I didn't, this moment was mind-blowing to you. And to me, every other game would have ended at the end of either Route A or Route B, but Nier Automata kept going, utilizing these aspects of being a video game. Gave me a trailer for the second half, in the credits of Route B, which made me incentivized to want to see what goes on and what happens next, and then just gave me the game. And I'm like, oh, sweet, I can immediately pick up on this sense of discovery, this wanderlust that I have, this desire to find out what happens next. I don't have to wait for this, I can immediately satiate this hunger. That is so cool, and was so good back in the day with Nier Automata. And that's not the only thing. Modifying and augmenting the options menu at the beginning of the game in Route A with 9S comes back later. The game's not afraid to delete your save files and all that, and shows you it going one by one through the main menu deleting stuff. It utilizes these aspects of being a video game, collecting weapons. Each weapon tells a story, so it's able to utilize some of that FromSoftian-esque storytelling with item descriptions to a very lesser extent, but it utilizes it to some extent at least. It's some version of that. And as you upgrade your weapons, you get more story and context for that specific weapon. As you continue to play through the game, you get more context and development for the world. It utilizes hacking as a way to convey information to the player, to seamlessly transport you from one dimension to the other, give you a different gameplay experience while still feeling immersive. Instead of just throwing up a screen with a whole bunch of ones and zeros on it, it gives you an entire little mini-game and a sense of identity for hacking, and is able to utilize that space later on for some pretty damn big plot reveals. And it doesn't feel gamified. It feels like, oh, I have to turn on my android's vision. Oh, I should go to that node, hit the thing, and like clear it up so I can turn it on. It works. It doesn't try and relegate all of this to a single cutscene or whatever. It says, okay, we have some information to convey to you, the player. Why not just make it a game? Why not make this segment a video game? It doesn't need to be the most complex thing or mechanically intensive thing in the entire known universe. It doesn't need to be like that. It just needs to have some kind of player agency, some kind of player input here. We can change up the music depending upon if you're in the hacking world or not. Have different versions of each of these songs to play to make the scene more hype or to feel more immersive with hacking. It's smart on such a consistent basis. And that's where I think stellarblade can shine. And that to me is the real inspiration and the real reason I think Nier Automata was so big for gaming. Because it represented that these things can be made. It's not like it's the first game that's ever done this, but I think Nier Automata is one of the best examples of a game doing this well, and doing it better than any other game I have ever personally experienced. And while Nier Automata has a really cool aesthetic, and a world that grabs you and pulls you in, and it does have that. That's not the only thing that makes Nier Automata so special in my opinion. Able to make use of the video game medium at its disposal to convey and amplify the story being told, and to make the story feel like it can only be told through the confines of a video game. That to me is special. That to me is something that I want to see explored even more in games. You don't have to do it like Nier Automata did it. Automata just showed you one way that you can do it. And I hope stellarblade utilizes other avenues, different aspects, has its own unique sense of identity, and doesn't just try and feel like Nier Automata Light. I don't think it will, but to some degrees, at least in terms of the story being told right now through the trailer, it does just kind of feel like we took Nier Automata and changed it up a little bit. I'm cool with that because I love Nier Automata, but I really want to see some unique twist on this. I want to see them try and utilize the video game medium to their best advantage to convey and tell this story. That to me is the legacy that I want Nier Automata to leave. That video game stories can be more than just a bunch of scattered cutscenes spliced up with a few bits of gameplay to keep the player engaged. Interweave these elements, utilize the gameplay to further the narrative, to further the story being told, and to tell it in a unique way. You don't have to copy exactly the ways Automata did it, but understand how Automata did it and how it did it so well. And with that, I think I'll call the video there for the day. And if stellarblade can do that, then I think it'll be pretty damn good. Looks pretty good to me right now as is. I'm definitely keeping an eye open for this one. And with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe. Leave a comment down below with if you've played Nier Automata and if you're looking forward to stellarblade, and how are you feeling about it? What do you hope that they take inspiration from Automata for, or what do you hope they don't? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and to hear your stories. Stay safe, leave a like and subscribe and the bell icon to be notified when I upload and stream in the future. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye everybody, till we meet again.